Hello and welcome to episode 4 of season 2 of the Holy Happy Podcast. Yes, we are healing out loud. We are living on purpose. My name is Ashley Aborashade, and today we have Mr. Victor Lofinmakin. Victor is a family man, an author, a veteran, and a seven-figure real estate professional and broker. Here we discuss real estate, wealth, family, and his latest book, Will You Ever Be Rich? Victor lives in the Houston area with his wife, Dolly, and their beautiful children. Welcome to the Holy Happy Podcast. I'm so excited today because we have a special guest, Mr. Victor Lofinmakin. Now, if you don't know Victor, you're going to learn about him today. He is an entrepreneur, a real estate, I think we can call you mogul now, right? You are a real estate mogul in the making, at least, right? And he's going to just, he's going to help us, get our money up. He's going to help us figure out this real estate game. And so if you have not yet subscribed to the Holy Happy Podcast, do that today. Victor, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Let's just start by getting the people to know a little bit about you. Can you tell us about yourself, your family, your profession?
Sure, yeah, so thank you for having me, really appreciate it. Again, like you said, if you haven't subscribed to the Holy Happy Podcast, do so right now, do so. So let me start from the beginning, right, where I was born. So I was born in a manger, right? No.
Born in a manger.
So my name is Victor Lofinmakin. So I was born in Washington, D.C., but I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. Came back to Houston for college, went to college. After college, started a small business. Was pretty hard. Business is pretty hard, especially at a young age. I started a small business, sold it afterwards, and then joined the military.
What was your first business?
So my first business was a medical supply company. So basically, back then, the idea was medical supply was pretty popular among the Nigerian community. Wheelchairs, diapers, insure, those kind of things. It was called Innovative Medical. My business partner, Shay Ogungun, I actually had to call him and ask him why he picked me to be his partner, but we partnered together, started that. It was pretty fun times. We had a small office, we were young and dumb, and made the best of it.
That's awesome. And then you joined the military.
I joined the military, so did 10 and a half years on active duty.
Oh, wow.
Loved it, absolutely loved it. And I just wanted to kind of spend more time with the family. I didn't want to move around so much. So left the military and in 2014, January 1st, and I was about to start working for a company when I said, this is my chance, my opportunity to be an entrepreneur. And of course, thanks to my wife, who was very supportive and let me strike out on my own. And we started 6 businesses together at the same time.
Wow.
Just trying to figure out what was going to work. Like we had a remodeling company, real estate, taxes, almost everything, and a hospice, right? So Dolly was my director of nursing, medical director for hospice, and it was really, really hard. We had 2 kids at that time, and we would have patients at like 3 a.m. I had to wake her up. And
my goodness.
Let's go see this patient. Let's drop the kids with the grandma. You gotta come back. Had to go to work again at 6 in the morning. It was just crazy. So, but as time went on,
thank God for a supportive wife. You would just say that.
Supportive wife. Absolutely. So anyway, fast forward, kind of focus more on real estate and started doing real estate ever since. And as we kind of concentrated on the real estate, and I started opening up other businesses around real estate, like mortgage, property management, consumer education school.
So how many businesses are there now?
I don't know. I somewhere around between 7 and 10. I think in that ballpark is, some are thriving, some are infancy stage, some are the adolescent stage. Obviously, like you said, want to make sure I don't get in trouble. So loving wife, 3 kids.
Right. You have responsibilities in that area too.
Very supportive parents and parent-in-laws. Just a very supportive community, right? So, as you know as well, the business has really been a testament to the community we have, right? So I've really built my business around my community and also helping back my community.
Right, yeah. I think that's what is notable about you and your businesses is that you're really serving your people. Like you're serving your community, your friends, your family, your church members. I mean, it's very obvious that you're rooted in in the community, and I think that is something that stands out in entrepreneurship. It's like you have that accountability. Like I'm one of you, I'm with you, I'm here. Like you can talk to me, you can call me. That approachability, I think, is key. So let's talk about entrepreneurship a little more. You mentioned you caught the entrepreneurial bug at a young age. I didn't know that about you. So what was it about like owning your own business that stood out to you to the point where you were willing to kind of give up the stability of having that job?
Well, yes. So I think obviously since I was still a young kid, I remember when I was 10 years old and my dad came. I think I remember exactly what happened, but after like I got good grades, he was going to give me 1,000 naira. Back then, it was a lot of money back then. I remember everyone, buying candy or do all with their money. And my goal was, how far can I stretch this money? Where can I invest it in? Where can I buy and sell this? Whatever it is. So it's been there for a long time. But I think for me, as I got older, what really drove me with the entrepreneurship bug is that the ability to actually help others. Right? So I think, a lot of people think people that are entrepreneurs are more selfish. In my opinion, I think actually more selfless, right? So a big part of what drives me is that I just always look back and say, where can I give? Where can I pass it forward? How can I give forward? Pass it forward, right? Because I think that so I come and my first job was in an organization. I worked in the Navy, and I worked at Talcabana, my very first job. I worked in different places, and I always thought that the person that started that establishment, that built that company, if they had looked for a secure job, where would I have worked? Right, so would I have worked there? Would I have learned? Would I have grown from the place? So the reason that can drive me is that if I look for a secure job, in my opinion, is that what am I leaving for the next generation? Who am I helping other than myself? And those kind of things. That's kind of what really drives me the most. So as I've gone along over the years, typically when I look to see the easier route or the more personal route, I was trying to take it. Okay, I know this is easier for me, but then once I get that for myself, how would I help others?
Well, because you have the capacity to do it, right?
Exactly.
So, do you feel like your military background has helped you in that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Probably the biggest influence in my life was the military. Is the military, and in my company actually, and in most companies, but especially my company, most people that have prior military experience are the military. Often more successful.
I want to pivot a little bit because my brother-in-law is 18 years in the Army and he's actually, kind of getting toward the end of his career. And I know from conversations with him and other people in the military that there's kind of like this period where you're trying to figure out what direction to go in next.
After the military.
After the military. And after having such a big duty for so long, it's kind of hard to just be like, oh, well, I'll just take this job and move on with my life. So how did, when you were making that transition, from military to civilian life, or deciding that you were going to just maybe stop or slow your career, how did you know which way to go? Like which path to choose?
Like either the entrepreneurial or what job to take?
Well, no, even just deciding on real estate, in terms of keeping your family intact and finding that balance with career and family. What made you decide on real estate to get started? So,
I've had this question a lot, right? And to be honest, I think I'm too stupid to know any better. That's just what it is. It's very serendipitous. I don't really plan that much out. I try to have fun. I try to do what I really want to do because I believe life is very short. You have to kind of do what you want to do. And it's weird. So, on my way out of the military, you're right. It's a very stressful time because you don't know what to do. You've been doing this for the past 10, 20, 30 years. Like, what do I do next? So when I was leaving the military, there was a company, it's a headhunter company. I forgot what it's called, what the technical name for is, but basically they're like a recruiting company. And I was in their program. I was doing very well. I was getting job offers. It was pretty easy to get a job for ex-military people. You have a security clearance and those kind of things. And I remember I was in Houston. I was visiting Houston. I was stationed in San Diego at that point in time, visiting Houston with my friends. I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to go entrepreneurial. And this is my chance. I'm going to be unemployed anyways for a while. I'm going to be looking for, this is my opportunity to do that. And I called the job hunting company and said, listen, cancel all the jobs. I'm not taking it.
Wow.
I'm going to just take a shot at it. And I went home to Dolly. Hey, listen, man, we're about to do
Dolly,
this
I
thing.
think you're the star.
We're about to do this thing. So what I did then at that point in time was, I think I had I got the severance of about 13 grand, or either severance, or I took all my leave and I sold, and I had about $13,000 saved up. And I'm like, well, let's do this. So I'm like, okay, let's apply for all the credit cards possible.
You sound like, will you ever be rich? So is this story about you? I mean, we'll get to it later.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. We'll get to the book. The story's about everybody.
Okay.
But we'll get to it. So it's about me, it's about you, it's about everybody. That's, so it's always relatable. So we got all this credit cards. I think it was like about 160 grand worth of credit cards that they're about. I'm like, well, let's just, make do. By living on those credit cards. We can always pay that 13K to pay the minimum balance forever, and we can pay the minimum balance forever, and then hopefully like 4 or 5 months we'll be good to go. So I go with like 6 months, right? So if I can't make it in 6 months, then I'll just go back and get a job. And luckily, like I said, it all worked out.
Wow, I mean, so I'm reading between the lines here, and it took so much courage for you to do that. I mean, you have the support system, right? But it's just to like decide and take action. I think that's where a lot of people just kind of get stuck in that limbo, right? Yeah, you're going to make some risky moves, but if you have an overall strategy, right, and you continue to work that strategy, it will pay off in the long run.
Absolutely.
Okay, so real estate is a really hot topic right now. I mean, we just came off of a big wave of low interest rates and prices rising. Now, I mean, there are people who are still looking to buy homes. Let's be real, in 2023. What advice do you have for people who want to buy a home next year?
Oh wow, what advice? Okay, lots of advice, because obviously I love real estate, and I like the way you kind of set that question up. Obviously, you well read, interest rates, all these things. Okay, so here's a few of my advice with real estate, right? So I tie that to wealth, right? So one of my biggest saying is that the foundation of wealth building is home ownership and retirement accounts. So if you don't have a home, you gotta get a home. You gotta buy a home for yourself. I mean, unless you intend on living for free or really, really cheap, or really skimp on your housing, quality of housing to buy a home. It's absolutely critical. Don't second guess it, just do it. Now that being said, talking about interest rates, they're a little higher right now. So I say this is a great time to be a buyer, but not a good time to be a borrower. We're trying to confuse those things, thinking buyer and borrower. Say because it's a good time to buy, or with all the high rising rates, it's absolutely the best time to buy, right? Because when rates are high, prices go down, right? Sellers are nervous. There's a lot of homes. Builders are slashing their prices. I have some clients that were already under contract, and because the rates are going up, I've been able to negotiate 50, 70, 100K off of what they were in the contract on. Because so that's a good time for buyers. Right? When sellers are nervous, it's good for buyers. But it's not good to be a borrower. It's a big difference. So you want to look for a way to minimize the impact of the borrowing on your housing expense. So how do you do that? Put more money down. If you have more money, put it down. If the minimum is 5%, put down 10%, put down whatever it is. If you can buy cash, and negotiate a great deal. That's the first thing. Second thing is, as you get extra money, pay down the principal, right? Because the high interest rate only affects you on what you borrow. If you don't borrow money, you don't pay high interest. So don't wait 30 years, don't wait 15 years. No, this is going to be like blasphemous on here. I tell people, try to pay off your primary home in 3 years. Knock it off in 3 years. If you put your goal, focus on it, you will do it. Trust me, you'll do it. 3 to 5 years, 5 years max, right? So just that's a goal. So, and then if you're doing that, the high interest will not affect you so much, and you'll have gotten a great price. Finally, is if you get an opportunity to refinance in the future, refinance for a lower interest rate. So it's a great time to buy. Now, what should you buy, right? So your primary home where you live is not an investment. It's an asset. It's a good asset, but it's not an investment. So my theory is, Buy the absolute smallest home, cheapest home that you need to accommodate your family and be happy. To be happy with it as well. So you don't want to buy a home where you're not happy, where you have gang bangers in your backyard. I'm not advocating for that. But at the same time, I've seen clients that just husband and wife, maybe one child or a pregnant wife, whatever, and have a massive 5-bedroom house, and they're just starting their life together.
Huge responsibility.
That's terrible. That's a terrible idea. It's not an investment. It's an asset. It's not paying you back, right? You're paying every month. However, though, you must buy a home to build wealth. I'm gonna keep going. So just stop.
No, keep going,
just stop me.
please.
Just stop me, right? So I'm gonna keep rolling.
Yeah.
So buy as little as possible, as inexpensive as possible. Put as much money down, pay it off quickly, and be happy with it. Now, the reason why home ownership and retirement accounts are the bedrock of building wealth is that I say wealth is designed to be transferred from the active to the passive.
Okay.
So having a home for a long time, you gotta pay a mortgage anyways.
You want to transfer your wealth from the active to the passive?
No, I take it back.
Okay.
Wealth is designed to be transferred from the active to the passive.
Okay.
Which means that people think the more things you're doing, you're building wealth. You're not. The less things you're doing, you're actually building wealth because of compound interest, and it takes time to build wealth. And what we always do, we always short circuit it. You invest here, you invest there, do this business, do that business. All that is just actually destroying your wealth, right? It takes time to build wealth, and it takes you leaving it alone and letting it grow, right? So retirement accounts, once you have them, people don't really mess with it. They wake up one day, compound interest has worked, and now they have a lot of millions. Same thing with your home, right? You stay in your home, you're just paying your mortgage normally, and just kind of grows on its own. That's why those
equity grows.
Exactly. So those two things are the bedrock of building wealth. I would say, because I want to pay a mortgage. Guess what? Unless you're living with mama, we're all paying the mortgage.
Yeah.
You all pay the mortgage. Might not be your mortgage, but you're paying the mortgage.
Exactly.
Right? So if you're renting, more than likely your landlord
You're paying somebody
has a
else's
mortgage.
mortgage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And who's paying for them? You are. Right? So if you're going to be paying that expense anyways, I think you should buy a home. Buy a small home that will accommodate your family. Don't buy a 6-bedroom house if you have 2 kids. It doesn't make any sense. Don't pay for what you're not using, right? And then pay it off quickly, and then start investing in other parts of the financial world.
I love that. Thank you so much. When did you just kind of decide that you wanted to like start to build wealth? When did that become like an interest of yours? I know you talked about entrepreneurship and kind of like the fact that you realized that you need to invest things from a young age, but when did you say, okay, I'm going to now start amassing wealth?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's a decision inflection point. Just always been a part of me, right? So, it's a shameless plug. I've always been a pretty smart student. I'm like Donald Trump. I have a good brain.
You don't want to talk about that.
I have a good brain. I'm just kidding. I've always been that. And so most of us of African descent, when we go to college, our parents want us to be a doctor. Right? Hey, you're a smart kid. Go be a doctor. Go be a doctor. And that's what I really remember. Other than the fact that my father gave me 1,000 naira, where I, just started investing, trying to grow that as much as possible. I also remember at one point in time where I was at the University of Houston. I was a voracious reader. I read everything from politics to religion to economics to finance to all these things. And I remember one day I had a cell biology class, which is a really, really tough course. Cell biology and organic chemistry is my.
So what were you studying?
Pre-med.
Okay.
Right. Obviously, you got to be a doctor, right? Obviously, clearly, African child. So, and I had this test. It was nagging. I wasn't doing. That was pretty smart. I wasn't doing so well because I just didn't care for it so much. And I was in a library reading finance and economics. And what's the name of that book by Napoleon Rich?
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich. Right? I was reading that, and I was taking notes, and I had this book, and I was like, this is how I want to build my wealth. I want to be an international business person. I want to do those, put all these notes together, I have all these ideas together. I think that's probably the first time I really kept I don't think this medical thing is for me. I think I would be a
kind of expanded your horizons.
Exactly.
Because I think there are so many people who are good in school, who have all these passions, all these interests, but they think when they think career, they think, stability, find a job, increasing that job. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think you can really flourish and grow inside of a traditional career. But, there are some of us who have this like passion, like, I I want to do more. I'm excited about this. This is what's, making me light up on the inside. And I love that you're sharing that, like you're sharing the practical aspect of it. Like, so yeah, I had these passions, I had these interests, so I made some decisions, right? I made some decisions and I acted on those decisions. And we want to talk about, we cannot leave the wife, element out of this, right? You definitely had a supportive wife. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
He who finds a wife finds a good thing, right? And I've had the pleasure to be friends with, my husband and I have been friends with you and your wife, Dolapo, for maybe 8, maybe 9 years now. So I've seen maybe from the outside in, but I had no idea how instrumental she was in you kind of just making these career moves. Tell us about her support and how that was a game changer for you.
Well, support has been about being just incredible, right? It's been a true game changer because, no matter what, if you are a single person, a married person, those kind of things, we all need support, right? You can't do it, we all have responsibilities. You can't do it by yourself. So one thing I've really appreciated about Dolly is that, to her, I don't have any bad ideas. So whatever idea it is, go ahead and do it. Like, just go ahead and do it, get it done. And that's been pretty encouraging, because, for me, like I said earlier on, I've just been extremely lucky with life, very extremely, stupid. I just jump in, right? I just execute whatever I think. I just execute it. It's just all been support. If she doesn't second guess my ideas, no matter how hard. I remember, coming back and like putting our family on a very tight budget, and other people out there, I'm like, hey, no, I'm not gonna, stay on that budget, right? So even as we started growing, we got to an income level where we can afford more things, and she didn't really push for that, right? Even sometimes where I might even let her down, say, okay, hey, I think we're gonna get you this car here, and then like, I just don't think it's the right time. Like, what? I support her. I agree with that. The time will come. We're gonna get this thing. So she's been incredibly supportive when it comes to that. With the business, like I said, when we first started off, I didn't have a stable income when we first started off, right? So even though I had some severance, I got credit cards, and we still did that, but she always worked.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because you kind of mentioned a few things that you did in that period. You put you guys on a tight budget, you got some credit cards, you had your severance that you were making the minimum payments. What other steps did you kind of take to make that transition into business ownership?
Okay.
As far as family goes.
Okay, so family goes, right? So, obviously, I didn't want to put a lot on her, but I've just been incredibly lucky. Dolly, she's an amazing person. Even when I wanted to do more, she just like, hey, just focus on your stuff and I'll take care of this. But ultimately, I don't want any delusions out there. It's very difficult, extremely difficult. And I remember even having some tough conversations with Dolly, because at one point in time, I was working so much that even she was kind of concerned, and I like tell her, hey, listen, dog, which is one of my sayings, and I'm like, even though, you think I'm self-employed, I'm actually unemployed, and every day I have to go out there and make my employment. I don't have the flexibility, the luxury of that. Hey, if I take it easy a little bit, or if I don't work, for this week or two, I still get income, right? So for most people that have a W-2 employment, they get income no matter what, right? I don't have that flexibility. So I just don't want to paint all like, rainbows and roses. It was really tough at some point in time, because even though she was very supportive, she made a key, I don't call it a key mistake, but it was something that was a source of pain for us, right? Which was that at the beginning, because I was self-employed, Dolly thought I had all the time in the world to do whatever I wanted to do. Right. So in the beginning, I felt at that point, I might be wrong, probably I'm wrong anyway, but I felt that there was a lot of extra, hey, take the kids there at 11 a.m. or at 1 p.m., take them to the dentist. At 3 p.m., take them to the ballet. I'm like, hey, listen, I can't make money if I'm running around, running errands and chores during the working hours. So I need you to work with me as if I have a regular W-2 job, right? So, if you will not be able to take off work on a regular Wednesday to take the kids to a field day excursion in school. I can't do that either because I do have clients to service. So I didn't want to give an impression that it's all
you
it's
have to
very
work with
easy.
each other and come up with these compromises. I mean, certainly for me as well. I think, as a woman, it's a little bit more difficult because I do have, 100% care over these children most of the time, right? But like you said, it's kind of like creating those boundaries as an entrepreneur. Like, these are my working hours.
Exactly.
The same way you wouldn't, just kind of bring the kids in if I was working an office job. I need this time, like this focused time to do my work.
Exactly. Yeah. I've always tried to kind of look for ways to like solve problems. And so when we had tension, now, I'll tell you, faith in God, also mentorship, right? So I do consult with a lot of pastors or people that I think that are where I am relationship-wise or business-wise all the time. And I observe how they operate, I read, I learn from them, and I take a lot of advice from them. That's been very, very helpful, very helpful in the relationship, for us, and also in the business aspect of it. I think obviously we can't do anything without God, but I have a different thought process about the whole thing.
Kind of more like an empowering idea of how you can work alongside God. I think I've observed that about you.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. I think, in our culture, I'm not sure how to say it very well, but I think in our culture, a lot of people always say that, how do I put it here? So there are things that, is godly, stuff like that, and the thing that is also, humanly or worldly that we need to acknowledge. Like, this is my people perish for
lack of knowledge.
So everything cannot be taken to prayer. It's not that you shouldn't pray about everything, but you also got to use your common sense for certain things, right? So, for example, I'm not a relationship expert, but if you spend all the time in church and not time with your family, the family's going to suffer.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you spend, all time praying but not working, you're going to suffer. This kind of thing. It's a balance to that, and I think that, I'm incredibly lucky, but also it's a lot of hard work, a lot of just listening to people and then taking advice from people. Some people ask for advice, but they don't implement the advice as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's mostly just I've just been lucky and stupid. So I don't.
And brave. You've been very brave.
Is it stupid enough just to do things without looking for looking too much about the consequences? Now, one thing I want to mention that you spoke about earlier, that some people want to go the entrepreneurial route. They have this passion, but they're kind of away with the safety and security of a regular job. And if I can encourage anyone out there, which I think I've probably done out of, again, just not knowing any better, but there's so much more reward, especially in the United States. We have so many, so much safety nets, right? It's really, really hard to go hungry and die of poverty in the United States. I mean, I have a lot of friends that I don't know what they do. They probably have a job, but they live in a house, they go out, they party, they eat, those kind of things. So if you've ever had the desire to actually want to strike out on your own, just take the leap of faith. Just do it. And that's what I've done, right? So, I put a plan together, and ultimately I use what I call the worst case scenario analysis. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're not going to die, your family's going to be okay. And so I think that, finding that passion the thing that you really, really want to do and pursuing that is probably the biggest advice I'll give everybody. It's just, just pursue it all it's not going to be easy. I didn't have a lot of family balance, right? So I call it counterbalance, right? You move very heavily into this for there's seasons for everything. You work very hard for the season, then come here and back and forth, and I'm just very lucky that God is really, really supportive. Oh my God, you give me good advice, good advice, good ideas, but even until now, right? I'm constantly working. When people ask about entrepreneurship, when people come to real estate, they want to work in real estate, and they ask me, hey, can I do a part-time? Well, you can do a part-time,
but you still have to.
You probably won't succeed very well in it, right? So, and as entrepreneurship is not a part-time thing. It's not a full-time thing. It's an all the time thing.
Yeah.
You got it's all the time. I sleep real estate. I wake up real estate. I go for it. I'm thinking real estate. You know, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm reading. You know, constantly. I'm on the plane with the Wi-Fi on. I'm landing in a different country. I gotta get some real estate in. I'm talking always. I'm in Spain at the La Mardi Gras talking about real estate. So whatever. I'm always talking to anybody about real estate. This kind of thing. So it's an all the time kind of thing. But it's so much worthwhile.
Amazing. So Victor, you are eating, sleeping, drinking real estate. Do you feel like that's like your secret sauce in your business that's keeping you like continuing to grow?
Well, yes, that's part of yes. Obviously, there's this one thing that Malcolm Gladwell said about the 10,000 hours. Right? You spend 10,000 hours in doing one thing, and that thing will only be one of the top elites in it. But I also want to kind of talk more about my company's core values, which I think really helped me. And when I think about it, I have it big on my board in my office, always thinking about that. And when people come in, I tell them about it. So it's 5 things. It was 3 initially, but I added 2 months, 5. So one is called knowledge, right? So I'm really big into learning, mentorship. I have a bullet point where once every week I must attend a seminar. I must go get some kind of learning, something always growing. I say knowledge is the first part of our core values. That's what will keep you ahead. Right, so I'm always reading about real estate. There's something said about if you read 20 minutes a day in any particular field, every day for 20 minutes, in 3 years, I think that's how it goes. In 3 years, you're going to be top 1% of that industry. In 3 years, or something like that. In 5 years, you're super elite, right? And top 1% of every industry makes about $400K a year. So it's a quick hack, right? If you want to make $400K a year 5 years from now, if you want to be third, if you want to be top 1% in your industry, 3 to 5 years, I'm not sure if it's 3 or 5 years from now, just study at least 20 minutes a day in your industry.
That's amazing. I will start that this week.
Absolutely. Yeah. 20 minutes a day, study, put into practice, easy. You're going to be there. It's almost like guaranteed. The second thing is called integrity, right? So I tell my team, integrity is non-negotiable, right? So anything you do, integrity, they say, you can build a reputation in 20 years and lose it in 5 minutes. And we all make mistakes, but integrity is non-negotiable, right? So if you do things, doing it for others and not for your own. Don't take shortcuts, right? Integrity is the second thing I did in business. My core values, so knowledge, integrity. The next one is results. So knowledge is what keeps us ahead. Integrity is non-negotiable. Result is what keeps us in business, right? So without results, we can't eat hard work. We can't eat all those kind of things, right? So I tell my team, no matter how hard to work, how much I like you, if we don't have results, we can't pay the bills. So I think about that when clients come to me, we got to deliver a result no matter what. Now, I think the military culture has really helped me a lot with that, right? Because with the military, you have 2 choices. You either have results or you die. One of the things. When you go to war, you're either win or die.
Yeah.
So, but now having that idea of always got to just get the result no matter what really helped my business a lot. So when I have a task, my goal is to get the results done, right? So having that result-mindedness is very important. That's what keeps us in business. The next one is called service. So great service, customers, communication, delivering not the same services for everybody. So every client has different needs. So having the wherewithal to know, okay, this is how I serve this person on a higher level, right? If the client's asking the question, more than likely that should be a yes. How can we deliver that service for our clients? So service is what keeps customers coming back, right? So no matter how well you do, if you give bad service, they probably won't come back. So my next thing was service. So that's knowledge, integrity, results, service. The last one is fun. That's the fun of it all. You gotta have fun with this thing. At the end of the day, if you're not enjoying it, if you're not having fun with it, you probably should have been doing it. And I've been very lucky that when I built my business on my community, it made it so much fun, right? So like my very, very, very first client ever was we traveled together. I think I've been to 3 countries this year. 3 countries this year. We hang out all the time, and almost all my clients, my friends, my coworkers, basically this is my family now. So I've been very lucky around that. So it's knowledge, integrity, service, results, fun. That's what I think is the core values. There's other things around that.
I love that because it's kind of like it's Holy Happy is also made up of parts, but it's almost like a business model for Holy Happy, like kind of just making sure that things are working together. You have to be able to be focused, bring in those results, but then we can have some fun as well.
Absolutely.
You know, and there's components that make that happen, that integrity, that service.
Absolutely.
So that's amazing.
Absolutely.
So, you know, you talked about mentorship, and it really made me think about your book.
Okay.
Now, I'll just say, I've known you for years. I had no idea you were such a good writer. The book is amazing.
Thank you.
We actually had your first book. I didn't read it, but I got this one on Audible. And I've been reading it, and I was talking to Toby the other day, and I was like, he's like, what's wrong? You've been having so much on your mind today. And I was like, I'm wondering, will I ever be rich? I'm like, this is putting so much on my mind. Like, it made me think about so many different things. You know, I've tried to read financial literacy books, and it's like, you know, that episode of Fresh Prince was like, welcome to the exciting world of chemistry. Like, I'm reading the same thing over and over, right? But this was so engaging, so well thought out. I loved how you made it a story format. I've only ever read one book like that, which is The 5 Dysfunctions of Teams. I don't know if you ever read that, but they also do it in story format. And I'm working on a book that will be released before the end of the year, and another one for next year. And I was like, do I need to like change my book to this format? Because it is brilliant. Really kind of intrigued me, like made me think about myself. Like you said, it's about me, it's about other people I know. What was your inspiration for that?
You know, so I heard from Oprah once that we all teach what we need to learn the most, right? So I think that, you know, so even though, so the book, what really inspired me was it's a story of everyone, you know. So I felt that way at one point, that will I ever be rich? You felt that way, we've all felt, everybody's felt that way. You know, you start getting to this stage in life where you start asking these questions. And a lot of things, you know, my brain is like, I was trying to figure things out, and I was trying to give back. So figure things out, give back, give back. So that's kind of what really like led me to writing that book. You know, that's my third book. You know, I've got the first one here, Success Made Simple. Just so a bestseller, and this is just being a fact. I mean, it's got really lucky. Again, like I said, I'm just pretty stupid. I just do things, and hopefully it works. I got really lucky with this book. I got a call this morning, one of my clients said, hey, I was in South Africa, and some guy just saw you on my phone. So, oh, I read that book. In South Africa. I'm like, yeah, I know the person, you know. So it's been pretty good. And I think that's really what the inspiration was for me, is trying to figure out these things. Because obviously, like I said, you know, so I was 10. And in college wanted to be successful financially, and it's like I'm like, will this really happen for me, you know? And I started just kind of digging more about that, and then I said, well, I got to start sharing more of this as well too. So it's more from teaching what I need to learn the most is what actually led me to the book.
And in the book, I can't remember the main character's name, but he has a mentor that he sees regularly. Is that something that you also did? Did you get a mentor that you worked closely with?
Absolutely. So now the whole, you know, it's funny. The first chapter of the first book, Success Made Simple, is talking about how we are all in one of the 3 Ds of life, the 3 phases of life called 3 Ds. The first phase of D is called drifting. It's kind of drifting, just no direction, like a boat at sea, just no direction, right? That's driven. The second, when you start making next step, you're making goals, you're getting things done, you're being successful. It's called driven. Then the highest level is called directed. So this is when you're being, you know, guided by someone, by a mentor, a guide, and that's really where you want to be when you want to succeed. Is, you know, if you know, you're not talking about finances, right? If we get to Warren Buffett, and if they mentor us on finances, we're going to succeed, you know, faster, quicker, with less stress. If you talk about Oprah Winfrey, right? If you want to be a talk show host, and Oprah Winfrey gets hold of you, you're going to succeed. Look at Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
Look at Dr. Oz. All these guys, all these people that they went, you know, they were being directed by Oprah Winfrey. So when I wrote that first book, that was it. Now, when I wrote the second book with the story of the mentor Benjamin and all of the students, I didn't really make the connection. And one of the students I read both, you know, Victor, I just kind of read both in one day, or they got it. They got the Will You Ever Be Rich first read it. Now I read went back to he must be a good writer. Let me read his first book. Read the first book, and made the connection. That, oh, that's what it's about. So I think that yes, I use that a lot. I'm always seeking out mentors directly or indirectly. I remember when I was my third brokerage company I went to, when I met the broker for real estate. I'm like, listen, man, I can learn real estate easily, but can I have a 30-minute meeting with you once a month just to pick your brain about life, about finances, about just the bigger questions of life? I think that I need to figure out for my own. And so I'm always seeking out mentors. I still want more mentors. I have a lot of mentors. Some of them don't know they're my mentors, but I'm watching them, I'm observing.
The same here.
And
most of my mentors are like online people that I follow weekly or even sometimes daily.
Absolutely. I just sent one of my mentors, and he knows them. I sent him a text yesterday. Like I told him, tell how grateful I am for your life, for doing what you're doing. You don't know your mentor, but just observing you and following you the way. I mean, I'm asking one or two questions, but no, it's not like a traditional mentorship relationship. Yes, I'm always seeking out mentors. Absolutely incredible. Very, very, very necessary.
That's amazing. Okay, Victor, is there anything else you want to share with us? What do you have coming up for next year?
Okay. I want to step into the entrepreneurship. What I've done, I use three things. So one is always seek out mentors first. So I look for the mentors first. Almost every endeavor I do now, I'll talk about 5 people that I succeeded in that industry. If I can't talk to them, they're public figures, I'll try to read and learn everything they've done about in that industry. Maybe I spend about a week and a half or so, 2 weeks, kind of understand, the best way to approach that industry. So, but mentorship, if I can have that, is best. Now, most people that are successful are very busy, right? So if you approach a mentor, be very, very conscious, right? Don't be aloof. Don't
Respect their time.
Respectful of their time. I mean, if they're actually very busy, other than their work, they probably have a lot of family obligations. Probably have 100 people, 1,000 people trying to be a mentor. Be very respectful of that. Ask good questions and fill in the rest of the picture, right? Don't ask them, so where do I go tomorrow morning? Just kind of fill the rest of the picture. So I use that a lot. The next thing I do is I try to analyze what the worst case scenario is, because I know it's really hard for us to make a move. The second book talked about what I call avoiding phobia, which is the abnormal fear of failure, right? So it's like, what is the worst?
What did you say?
Phobia. It's a weird word. For phobia. Phobia, abnormal fear of failure. Is so. It's the question is like, I use a worst case scenario analysis. What's going to happen? What I'm not going to succeed. I'm already there now. The worst going to be back to where I am right now. That's the worst going to happen, right? So if I never take the shot, if I do take the shot, I'm just be back to where I am right now, right? So when I started the business, like, well, if I do this and I fail, I'm just going to get a job again. I already have a job now, so that's what's going to happen, right? So I use that a lot as my next step. And then the last thing is what I do. I develop what I learned from the military, called POAM, POAM. Plan of action and milestones. So I always detail that. So I want to have this business started by the next 6 months.
POAM. Plan of action and milestones. Genius.
So I do that. So in 6 months I want to be launched and stuff. So 6 months I want to make 100 grand in this business, and I walk back from that. So in 2 weeks I want to talk to 5 businesses for the next 2 weeks.
So you set the big goal and then you break it down into measurable goals along the way.
Absolutely, because big goals are daunting.
Yeah.
Small goals are not as scary. So kind of break it down into smaller goals and do that. So that's what I have. What I have for next year. So this is an exclusive now. You get it.
All right.
Exclusive, right? So I've when real estate is very, very hard, right? So even though I've had fun, it's very hard. And my big goal for next year is to retire from the real estate brokerage and mortgage brokerage kind of things, or semi-retire, and then pursue other passion, right?
Okay.
What I call my hobby work.
Right.
Things that if I don't get paid doing it, I don't care, right? If I don't need a job, what would I do?
What kind of things? What's next for you?
Oh man, she's really asking all the hard questions, right? Definitely. So I want to spend more time, helping people shape public policy, right? So maybe help, local politicians raise more money, public policy, philanthropy. and philanthropy. And I want to do more in the continent of Africa and do more there. So philanthropy is really important to me. Understanding, helping my community a lot is really important. Helping build wealth in my community, right? So more of pooled funds, pooled managed money, and basically the things I'm teaching in the first 2-3 books. How can I actually bring that to life? So step by step guide on how to do this, not just theoretical. How do you do this? So just kind of think of how to approach that, after next year.
Thought leadership.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. I think so. Yeah, exactly. So, again, I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I'm sure, God's watching
It's
out
been working for you so far, so yeah.
To work hard at it. Yes.
That's amazing. And yeah, God bless all your future endeavors. Thank you so much for your time today, Victor. All right. We'll see you next time on the Holy Happy Podcast.
And that's a wrap, family, for episode 4 of the Holy Happy Podcast Season 2. Hey, if you haven't already, make it official and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget, Victor's book, Will You Ever Be Rich, is available on all platforms, including Audible, which is my favorite. I will see you next time. Bye.